We're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to part 3 of our AI Agents series. I am Scott LeFante and I'm here with my co-presenter, William McLendon. We're both Microsoft MVPs, and today we're cutting through the hype to show you AI agents that actually drive revenue. This is not theories, we're not demoing anything, but it's real use cases that move the needle on pipeline, velocity, and retention. So let's go ahead and dive straight in.
Thanks, Scott. We greatly appreciate that. So here's what we're covering today. First, we'll talk about why AI agents matter, specifically the revenue opportunities that they can help generate. Then we'll walk through 6 battle-tested use cases for pipeline growth, deal acceleration, and retention. After that, the plan is to cover the success metrics that prove ROI, because you can't measure it if it didn't happen. And finally, we'll give you a prioritization framework so that you can pick the right initiative for your team. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right in and let's get started.
All right, thank you, Will. So let's get real for just a second. Traditional approaches aren't cutting it anymore, right? I'm sure you've all seen it, right? Sales teams are getting buried, spending 65% of their time on non-selling activities. So emails, internal appointments, meetings, all this stuff that isn't generating revenue. And quite frankly, that's insane. So 70% of leads, put it this way, 70% of leads never even get followed up on. The average sales cycle, 102 days and growing. And by the time you realize that customers about to churn, it's way too late. This is where AI agents come into play. They're autonomous systems working 24/7 to qualify leads, accelerate deals, and protect your revenue. All of this without adding headcount. And that's the transformation that we're really talking about. Okay, so let's start with the most obvious place to use AI agents: getting your sellers in front of the right people faster. This use case is about automated lead scoring and qualification. Right, so today most teams either use a basic out-of-the-box score or worse, a gut feel. Reps grab whatever's on top of the queue, marketing floods them with marketing qualified leads, and everyone argues about lead quality instead of pipeline. So how do the agents actually work? In this model, an AI agent sits on top of your CRM and engagement tools. It looks at 3 big buckets of signals: behavioral, firmographic, and engagement patterns. Right? So behavioral: emails open, links clicked, web pages viewed, all of that fun stuff. Firmographics: industry, size, territory, installed tech, account tiers. Right? Your engagement pattern is who's engaging, how often, and what they're consuming. Right? So instead of a static score, they're calculated once. The agent is constantly, I'm sorry, instead of a static score that's calculated once, the agent is constantly re-ranking the lead and opportunity queues in real time, right? So for example, if a lead goes quiet for 30 days, they get dropped, right? And the impact is simple. Sellers stop wasting time on tire kickers. They're focused on high intent prospects, and you end up converting more of the leads than you already had, 3 times more in many cases. Right. So then on the right, you can see 2 examples of metrics we track: 45% increase in lead to opportunity rate, so more of your leads are turning into real pipeline, and a 62% reduction in time to first contact. So the agent's making sure hot leads don't sit in someone's inbox for 3 days while they're in meetings. Right. This isn't a science project timeline because we're using your existing CRM data and engagement tools. We typically see time to value in 2 to 4 weeks from kickoff to agents running in production. Right. So let's look at the second use case. Right. And so this is deal intelligence and velocity acceleration. Right. And this is where AI gets really powerful. The agent monitors the deal progression. It's going to identify those blockers before they become, really big problems. And it's going to recommend those next best actions based on what's worked in similar deals. Right. So it's looking at all your historical data as well and how they were handled. It's like having a sales coach that never sleeps. Now, the impact, of course, is deals get closed faster. We're looking at about a 28% reduction in sales cycle time and a 35% increase in win rate. Think about that in terms of dollars and invested time from the sales perspective, right? And so that's not just incremental improvement, that's transformational improvement. And we're seeing that time to value about 4 to 6 weeks. So this is one that really pays off quickly.
These are some big deals. So this use case number three, it's all about protecting your revenue. So what we mean by that is revenue recovery and churn prevention. The AI agent, it detects early warning signs, usage drops, support tickets piling up, contracts not being renewed. It triggers proactive interventions before the customer basically hits the exit. So what's the business impact? You're saving at-risk accounts before they churn. You're protecting your recurring revenue and you're increasing customer lifetime value. So the metrics here are 18% reduction in churn rates and 42% increase in customer retention. So the time to value is about 6 to 8 weeks. If you're bleeding revenue through churn, this needs to be your roadmap. So this is a really important use case.
Thanks, Will. That's a great point, how important this one is. So let's look at use case number 4, which is pipeline health and forecasting intelligence, right? This agent, analyzes essentially your pipeline health, right? Anything that's stalled, anything that's, what's moving, quickly as well, through your sales stages, and what's looking at in terms of actual revenue forecasts based on your historical patterns and current trends. So think about if you have, hundreds of sales reps, what this agent is doing, right? So there's no more spreadsheet guesswork at all. And that impact, leadership gets real-time visibility, right, into your revenue and early warnings on deals that are at risk. And that's huge because a lot of organizations, right, don't find out, leadership doesn't find out about this until it's too late, especially if everything is a gut check and a gut feel, right? A lot of times salespeople will overinflate their probability because they have a gut feel, right? And it's not based on historical data, right? And so that's a big problem. So with this one, we hit a 92% forecast accuracy rate. And think about that, 92%. And you're reducing stalled deals by 40%, right? That time to value in all this is 3 to 5 weeks. So that's pretty quick turnaround time. And so if your forecasting right now is a mess, this is absolutely your answer.
Thanks, Scott. So use case number 5, this is our customer success automation. Now this agent monitors product usage, and it really delivers that proactive support feel. It identifies upsell opportunities and automates renewal processes. So the goal is to really scale the customer success without scaling headcount. And that's the real dream scenario, right? What we found is that the impact shows really in the numbers here. You have a 55% increase in net revenue retention and a 38% increase in expansion revenue. You're not just keeping customers, you're really growing them. The time to value for this is about 5 to 8 weeks. And if you want to turn your customer base into a growth engine, really, this is where you need to focus on, is that customer success automation agent.
Absolutely. And then our final use case is around marketing ROI and campaign optimization, right? And this agent's looking at everything from a marketing perspective, right? How the campaigns are doing, where are we spending all of our money, and optimizing that allocation, right? It's looking at the personalization of content at scale, right? We're predicting what channels will convert based on historical data, right? Is it webinars? Is it trade shows? Are we doing things that, sending out mass marketing emails, right? What channels are giving us the biggest return on our investment? No longer are we throwing money at campaigns and hoping that they work, right? This is based on the details, the historical information, all of those details that are coming into your CRM or whatever platform you're using, right? And of course, we said this in one of our first webinars in the series, garbage in, garbage out. So this is assuming, of course, we're gathering in this data and it's going into a system, right? Whether it's Dynamics 365 or another system, right? And that impact, we're looking at a 67% increase in marketing ROI and that 48% in lead quality. And think about that from a sales perspective. Lead quality going up by that percentage, and then we have the lead agent on top of that, pushing that through the pipeline. So we're maximizing every dollar and eliminating waste. And that time to value, we're seeing 4 to 6 weeks. So if your marketing team is drowning in data and struggling to prove ROI, this agent is your lifeline. Before we go to the next slide, hopefully you've seen in all these use cases, the maximum time to value is about 8 weeks. So think about that. And all these agents, right? Granted, each one, but we're saying that pick one or two and you can be up and running in less than 2 months in most cases. That's pretty significant.
So let's talk about the metrics, right? These are the metrics that actually matter, not the vanity metrics, right? But the leading indicators that predict revenue outcomes. That's what we want to focus on. So on the pipeline side, you're tracking lead to opportunity conversion, pipeline velocity, and really MQL quality source. For velocity, it's sales cycle length, win rate, and deal accelerated rate, right? Those are the things we care about. And on the retention side, we want to focus on the churn rate, net revenue retention, and the customer lifetime values. The key takeaways here are track what drives revenue. It's simple. Measure efficiency gains, conversion improvements, and revenue protections. Right? Everything else is just noise. Ignore it. Next slide, Scott.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the time to value, right? And we saw this, right, in terms of your prioritization and all those use cases and how long they take. This chart shows you how long it takes, right, based on all the details we showed you, to see results from each use case. So, lead scoring and pipeline forecasting, right? We're seeing values in that 2 to 4 week, 3 to 5, but if you average it out, right? I mean, we're talking, somewhere between, if you take the average, 3 and 4 weeks, right? And if we're looking at that prioritization, those are the two highest priority items if we're looking at that from a sales perspective, right? These are quick wins, right? Marketing ROI and deal intelligence, 4 to 6 weeks, right? Customer success automation, 5 to 8, and that churn prevention is the longest one, which is 6 to 8. But again, right, we're seeing everything in that, somewhere between a half a month and 2 months, right? And so here's how we think about it in terms of phases. Right? Phase 1 is quick wins. So again, that lead scoring and basic automation. Right? We're looking again at that 2 to 4, 5 week range. Phase 2 is core impact, deal intelligence and forecasting. And phase 3 is scale, right? Churn prevention and that customer success automation, right? The goal is start fast, prove value, and then scale.
So here's your prioritization scorecard. Like if you want to know where you need to start, how your priorities work, this is the scorecard. This is how you decide what you really want to build first. Now we ranked all 6 use cases by revenue impact, implementation efforts, time to value, and given each its own priority score. Now leading score and pipeline forecasting are your 5-star priorities. High revenue impact, low implementation effort, fast time to value. Like these are all things that come from that. Now, your deal intelligence, marketing ROI, and customer success are 4-star. Those are high impact, medium effort. Churn prevention is 3-star. That's very high impact, but higher implementation effort. So use this scorecard to kind of pick your first initiative. Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one and prove that it works, then scale.
Yep.
You can go back to the slide.
Yep, that's what I did. I went back a slide because I think, yep. So that's fine. That
All
was my
good,
fault.
man.
That was my fault. I clicked the button too fast. So, here's your implementation roadmap. And really
One more, Scott. You got to go one
oh,
more slide. Yep.
go one more.
Yep. Now you're there. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I was off a little bit. So if we go back to this one in terms of the implementation roadmap, I think I messed up the clicking real quick. Well, so this is a four-stage roadmap where we're basically saying,
Scott,
yeah, what are you seeing? Oh, you're
you're
not seeing the
still
right thing. Oh,
no,
my
you're
bad.
yeah, now you're there. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, that was my bad. It was frozen on my side. Thank you. I appreciate that. So here's your implementation roadmap. It's my Monday, so I had off yesterday, so I need more caffeine. Okay, so we're going to look at step one, which is assess your current state. Now we're identifying those revenue gaps, reviewing, what your data looks like. Is it ready to use AI agents? And then we're going to map those existing workflows, right? You need to know where you're starting from, essentially. Step two, prioritizing those use cases using the scorecard we just showed you. So start with those quick wins and build for scale, right? Step three, launch and learn, right? We're going to pilot the AI agent with one team, right? Not the entire organization, but pick a team, pick a small team, and then measure that impact on a weekly basis. And then if we have to, all right, we're going to iterate, and that's based on feedback from what the users are seeing and what they're expecting, right? The goal is don't try to be perfect, just start, right? We need to start someplace. And step four, scale and optimize, right? This is where we're going to roll out company wide, and we're going to have adjacent use cases and keep improving, right? And that's the big thing with AI, right? We don't sit stagnant. It has to be continuous improvement and monitoring after we go live. This is a marathon. Remember, all this here is a marathon. It is not a sprint.
All right, we're at the finish line. All right. If you remember one thing from today, remember this. It's simple. Start with one high impact use case. And then I want you to measure ruthlessly and scale what really works. Let's not overcomplicate it. Please don't overcomplicate it. So, what are your next steps? Simple. Download the prioritization scorecard, assess your data readiness, and connect with Scott for implementation guidance. We want you to see your success with this. We really do. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next session. Anybody have any questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll be eager to answer.
Yep. So before you go, please go ahead onto our site, and the site is listed here. You'll see there's about 40 AI use cases, and they're listed by category and by role and by industry, right? So you can go ahead and sort them or search for them based on those criteria. And you can see here there's what the categories are and roles in the different industries. It's really chock full of great ideas to get you started on your AI journey. So thank you so much for attending today. If anyone has questions, please, again, like Will said, drop them in the chat. If not, we will see you next time. Thank you, everybody.